Hi everybody. It's been a tough year so far with the lockdown we had recently, how much suffering and pain the COVID-19 has caused, and we're still really not out of the woods yet because it's still happening. There's still local lockdowns around the country, and that could be there for the foreseeable, for the foreseeable future. Um, it's the new normal, things have changed, like you go in, still queuing up in shops, face coverings, schools are going to be start to reopen in September. That will all be different for the safety of the children, how they're going to do it for them. Like, there's hand sanitizers in shops, as you go into pubs, hand sanitizers, signing in books, it's all the new normal. But like I said, how much pain and suffering it's caused for people worldwide, you know, for them, for people's well-being, mental health. The impact is had on people's mental health. More people probably have started to suffer with their mental health because of it, like the aftermath of it all. But an even greater impact on those that are suffering with a mental illness as well. If you're already suffering with your mind's already suffering, how much of an impact that would have on somebody. So, try it like out of source, out of routine, and it's not something that you can just get over. It takes time, healing process, something like that, of getting over like the impact, like the tough year that we've had. And like I said, for those that are suffering with their mental, with an illness, it probably will take a little bit longer to overcome those tough times. But they have tough times all the time. Those that are suffering with their mind suffering. So it's like bringing awareness there, bringing awareness to mental health for those that are suffering. There should be, we should be more aware about it, of what is going on. It's quite common. Mental health, a mental illness, coming down with a mental illness is something that can be common, especially nowadays. The world we live in, these tough times as well. So, like I said, we've all had some kind of an effect from the past, like this year so far, of what has been going on. So we know we know what it's like when you're feeling low, when your well-being is suffering a little bit. So showing a bit of compassion to those that are suffering every day with a mental illness, and for even after, year after year, just suffering with their mental illness. Now, a mental illness can be very unpredictable, for those that are suffering, not knowing from one day to the next really how they're going to be feeling. They could be fine one day, well, as good as can be, coping with it as good as can be, but they can wake up the next morning and it could be really bad for them. Sometimes things may trigger their illness a bit more, like certain triggers, but sometimes it's just the illness. It's just what the illness does with it. And not knowing from day to day how you're going to be feeling, that's quite, how can I explain it? not very nice, I could imagine, really living with a mental illness. So it's like I said, bringing a bit of awareness to it for those that are suffering, a bit of compassion and kindness to it, to the, you know, being a bit more aware, a bit more understanding, because realistically by now we should be a bit more understanding around it, pulling away from that stigma, you know, pulling away from it. There shouldn't be no stigma there, because like I said, with these tough times, you know, it's a lesson really that we should be putting away from the stigma and showing a bit more kindness there, you know, because our mental health really do matter, our well-being matters, you know, and taking care of it matters. And for those out there worldwide that are suffering with an illness, it can be very tough for them from time to time. Their healing process, you know, it takes time to overcome something like that. It's not something that happens overnight. It takes time. Healing process, like working your way through your illness to help maintain it. You know, the healing process in itself takes time. Everybody's different on their healing, how it affects them, their healing process. Everybody is different with it. So I just wanted to do this video to bring a bit of awareness to it, because looking back on the tough year we've had so far and how things have changed, like I said, the new normal, you know, and like I said, children being off school since the lockdown, and they're going to be starting going back to school, how much probably they have suffered as well, like with the isolation. You know, you imagine children, like it could probably be a bit scary for them. What is going on? You know, it's bad enough for us at that time. What's going on, you know, with it all. So like even with young children, young adults, how it's affected them, like being away from their friends, their school friends, and probably feeling a bit anxious as well by going back to school, and probably the parents as well. But like for those, like with, you know, with with children going back to school, you know, it's good for their mental health to be like in school, doing what they do best, like learning and going in school and doing their lessons, learning, being around their friends. It will help with their mental health, their well-being. You know, it will be safe. You know, the schools are making sure that it is going to be safe for them and everything. So, but with everybody else, you know, just being a bit more aware around, I think, around mental health. And like I said, the compassion, showing a bit of kindness there, shedding a bit of light, bringing light to it and acknowledging it a bit more, because sometimes it can be quite easily forgotten. People out there suffering with mental health, you know, quite easy forgotten, how they feel isolated from it and lonely because of it, and the fear because of it, you know, how it affects them, their mental, how it affects them within their self, you know, it could be quite tough for them. But I wanted to do this video because I'm going to be doing mental health for the winter months, which I'm going to be starting next month. I've already done an introduction on the video, like about the videos that I'm going to be doing, so that will be another thing as well. Like I said, we've already been through a tough year, and we're coming to the end, I should say, of the summer, going into autumn and winter, and there's people out there that do suffer with our bad times throughout the winter because of feeling isolated, feeling lonely. You know, so we've just been through a lockdown and feeling isolated and lonely, and now we'll be coming into the winter, and that sometimes can have an effect on people's mental health. And for those as well that are suffering with a mental illness, the loneliness, the isolation. So that's what I'm going to be doing each month throughout the winter, for the winter months, for mental health, and like for the winter months. And that's why I wanted, like I said, I wanted to do this video, because it's like a lead up. We've already had the tough time of the lockdown, and now we're going into the winter months as well. Like I said, people feeling lonely and isolated. So I'll be doing videos about that each month throughout the winter, and some coping strategies as well for it. So let's just pull away from that. Like I said, let's just pull away from that stigma and shed a bit of light. Be kind to one another. Show a bit of compassion as well towards it, and make it a little bit easier for those out there that are suffering with an illness, because it can be a lonely place for them at times and tough. So I hope you like the video. Please share this video, because our mental health and our well-being is very important. So, and give us a like.